What should you do if you keep being interrupted in meetings? I'm Emilie West, I'm a career coach, and I'm here to help you achieve more success with less stress. One of the big frustrations that people experience at work is being interrupted in meetings by their colleagues. It can be infuriating, we've all experienced it, but we've also all done it to somebody else. So in today's video, I'm going to share some tips about how to handle this. Now, the first thing I would say is let's just have a quick look at what's happening. If you're getting interrupted at work, is everybody interrupting you, or is it just one specific person? And if it's one specific person, do they do that to everybody else, or do they just do it to you? Now, if it's one person and they're just doing it to you, then you might want to address it with that person directly, and I'll talk about how you can do that later. But it might be that this person just does it to everybody, which is much more normal. And some people just naturally can't stop themselves interrupting. So one of the key things when this happens is not to take it personally or react as if it's just aimed at you. Now, if you're in an organisation where everybody does it to everybody else, it might just be part of the culture, and you're going to struggle to stop and change that. And maybe the way for your voice to be heard is you're also going to have to sometimes interrupt people. But ideally, we would work in a world where you're allowed to finish your point in a meeting. So what can you do about it? Well, the first thing is just reflect on how you present in meetings. Are you succinct? Do you make useful points? Because if you're someone who rambles on and hogs the meeting and speaks more than anybody, then you will get interrupted, and that's possibly fair enough. So first of all, just check, am I speaking too much? If you're not, if you go in prepared and you're making good points and you're doing it clearly, but you still keep getting interrupted, what can you do about it? The first thing is claim the floor back. So if someone interrupts you, don't let them just finish their point. Once they're 3 or 4 words in, just claim it back. Just say, before you share your point, I'd just like to complete what I was saying, and then finish what you were saying. And do that confidently. So project, make sure you've got a good volume, make sure you sound comfortable interrupting that person, and don't rush. So you take back the floor, you say, I want to come to you and hear your point in a second, but I just want to complete my thought, and it is X, Y, and Z. But then make sure to complete your thought succinctly, and then do go back to that other person to hear from them. Then they'll see that you're not trying to exclude them, that you want to hear their opinion too, they just need to wait their turn. So again, another thing you might say is, actually, we're going to come on to that topic in a minute, let me just conclude this part of the meeting. So there's lots of different phrases that you can say where you're basically saying to the other person, we are going to get to what you're talking about, or I will let you speak, but first I need to complete my point. Now, if you do that a few times with someone, they might learn after a while to just let you finish. But as I said, if you've noticed there's someone who does this always with you, maybe specifically with you, or they just do it so much it's really annoying, then I recommend that outside of a meeting, one-to-one, you have a conversation with them. And you might say to them, listen, I'm sure you don't mean to do this, but you often cut me off in meetings, and so it'd be great if you could just wait till I finish my sentence or finish my point, because otherwise I'm having to come back and finish my point afterwards. As I said at the beginning, try and assume that they're not doing it on purpose, they're not doing it to be unkind. But even if they are doing it to be unkind, it's very hard for them to respond negatively when you give them the benefit of the doubt and you just politely ask them not to do it. If they then keep doing it, then as I said, in the meeting, keep claiming that voice back for yourself. Now, there are a couple of instances where you might not want to interrupt back. One of them is if the person who interrupts you is senior to you. Now, I'm not saying we should always defer to the senior person, but if the senior person is cutting in, then often out of respect, you want to let them complete their point first, and then you complete yours. So you don't cut back in, you let them speak, and then at the end of it, if what you had to say is still relevant and useful, you might then say, I just want to add, and then just complete your thought at the end of it. But make sure you're not cutting them off and you're not embarrassing them for the fact that they cut you off. Now, I have had clients where their manager does it over and over again. And again, in a private one-to-one conversation, they've been able to say to them, you often cut me off in a meeting. I'm sure you don't mean to, but it undermines me. Would you mind giving me space to complete my thought? And actually, a lot of those managers have responded really positively to that feedback, as long as you do it respectfully and assuming that they're not doing this maliciously. So you might not cut off someone senior to you or your boss. You might wait till they're finished and then you give your final thought. The other time, it might not be smart to do this, is if you're working with clients. One of the great ways to build a relationship with your clients is to make them feel heard and listened to. And if you interrupt them, you're not going to do that. So in general, if you're with clients or you're selling, make sure you don't interrupt what your clients are saying. Wait till they finish. But if the client interrupts you, try not to cut them off. Let them finish their point or their question. And ideally, if you can, you respond to it. But you might respond by saying, absolutely, that's a great question. I'm actually going to come to it later. I'm just going to complete this section on X, Y, and Z. So you're saying to them, I've heard you, I acknowledge your question, I'm just going to complete this thought. But equally, if the client is asking you a question in a sales pitch, it's probably because it's something that's really on their mind. So if you can answer it quickly in the moment, do that. And don't get so hung up on finishing the point you were making or going back to your script. So I hope that's given you some useful techniques of what to do if you keep getting interrupted at work. Now remember, this isn't perfect. People will interrupt you, you will interrupt people. So you don't need to become the interruption police and correct everybody all the time. But if it's happening to you a lot, just confidently interrupt them back and complete your point.